We're back from our 2-week trip. We went as far as Tennessee. We rode roller coasters. We spent a lot of money in repairs and park tickets and gas. And now it's time to kind of clean the camper up and do a few other things, because in 7 days we're headed off to Thomas Point Beach with the camper for a 2-night and 1 full day reggae festival. And it's a very short trip, only about an hour and a half away, but we're looking forward to it because it's going to be a nice day. Hopefully it will be weather-wise, and we'll be gone to camp a couple nights and we'll be coming back. So easy pack, easy drive, easy time compared to the last trip. But I'd like to show you a few things too as I'm doing my cleaning. A few things that in the last trip I was thinking, you know, these things are small, but they're pretty cool, or I wouldn't want to have to do without them. So let's take a look. Now, some of the stuff you've seen before in some of my other videos as I was installing it, and I did mention a couple of things. So this is kind of a comprehensive look at a few things that I've been wanting to put on video for a long time. And the first one is my stabilization system for a small camper. And this is really only for a small camper. My camper's 12 feet, 14 if you count the nose. And it works really good for us. It's inexpensive and easy to assemble and set up. So let's take a look at it. When you have a small camper, it's nice to have a jack brace on all 4 corners, but you don't need to do that. Go to the expense. I didn't want to do it because I just didn't want to mount them metal on aluminum because I have an aluminum trailer. There was a bunch of reasons I didn't want to do it. All you need is 2 of these. And when you think about it, a camper, particularly a small one, moves because it's on springs or leaf springs or coiled springs, or in my case, a torsion bar. And that's where the bouncing happens. So if you can immobilize those springs, then there's very little movement for the camper after that. Now, if you have a long camper, I would imagine as you move towards way in the back or way in the front, there will be some give. So this may not work for it, but the small camper, it works pretty darn good. So we need to immobilize one side where the wheel is here and one side where the wheel is on the other side. I have these jack stands, which are dirty right now, and it's really just a pipe within a pipe, and it's threaded. So you can lower it as much as this, or it'll go about as high as that. So it'll extend quite a ways. But with this system, you don't need that much. Let me show you what I do. After I tank the camper off the hitch on the truck, of course, it's high. What I do is I bring it down till it's level, and then I raise it just a tiny bit to start this process. Let me show you. Bringing it down almost level, but just slightly above level. So here the camper is slightly above level on the front, and notice that the angle widens as you get towards the tongue and gets narrower as you get towards the wheel. Now I do this by turning this down or up so that it just barely fits. And that's, you can raise it up a little bit more. Just barely fits in front of the wheel on one side of the camper. Then I'll go on the other side of the camper and do the same thing. Now, it's just a matter of dropping the tongue down enough so it sits on those posts. Now we have relatively good stability. Now that may have seemed like a long process, but it really takes just a few seconds once you get used to it. You bring the trailer tongue up slightly above level, and then walk around and put the 2 posts underneath, and usually they're pretty much well adjusted from the last time you used them, maybe a little tweaking, leaving about, maybe a 1/16 of an inch space. Then once you drop the tongue, it stabilizes on the posts. The suspension doesn't move anymore, and the trailer is 98% stable as far as I'm concerned. These screw-in posts that I put on either side of the trailer cost right now about $17 each. So, you know, that's not very expensive to stabilize a trailer. And when I'm done, I could put them in the garage, but usually the last thing I pick up after I put the truck on the hitch, because then it's raised up, and I just walk around and grab them both, and I just throw them inside the door. And the first thing I grab when I open the door at the next campground. Next is something that I did an actual build on, but it was the first time we used it in the last camping trip. And it's one of the best things I've ever done on the trailer. I came across this 1/4-inch aluminum plate from a guy on Facebook Marketplace that was local. And I have this little bungee cord on here so it doesn't bounce, but it's pretty stable down. Anyway, and it flips up, locks into place, will hold a lot of weight. I put my camp stove over here, and I have some preparation area over here, and it just worked out so well. It's got all stainless steel hardware to hold it together, and it's got these locking shelf brackets, and each one is purported to hold about 160 pounds. I wouldn't trust that, but they're very strong, and they're very stable and 90 degree when you put them up. Let me show you what they look like underneath. They're about $12 a pair on Amazon. You find them all over the place. This is what they look like, and let me unlock this one over here, and I'll unlock this one by pushing this little tab in. And then the whole thing slides down like that. And it's diamond plate, so, you know, from a distance you have to look to notice there's something there. I love this thing. And keeping in line with that theme, I also have an inside table that uses the same right angle lift clamps. And it has an extending part, which I use for a desk. Another thing which I pointed out in another video as I was putting it up is this towel rack. Now, what's nice about it is that, see right here, it's extendable quite a ways. So it's almost all the way in now, because behind these 2 spots are my aluminum studs in the walls, and I have some really good screws that bite into those and hold really good. So I was able to extend it exactly the distance I wanted and mounted it. If there was no window here, I might have brought it out, or might have reached to the next stud, I don't know, but this is good enough. We keep towels on here, get a little paper clip here so it stays on the road. There's lots of hooks and things on it too that slide around. And I didn't know what I'd put up here because I figured it would fall off, but Joyce has a hat, I have a hat, and the hat seemed to slide into these bars really good and stay. And we put a few other things up there too when we're stationary. So this has been a great addition for us, for the small camper. This big drawer has been a royal pain. It's very large. As you can see, it's not square, it's triangle shaped. Getting this to work and fit well was a problem. What originally happened as a problem is that I couldn't put drawer slides on the side because it's got triangular shaped sides. So what I did is I bought some flat mounted ones and mounted them underneath, and that worked pretty good. Except that I couldn't keep the drawer closed when we were traveling. sometimes you have to accelerate quick. You ever come off a ramp, a couple of trailer trucks behind you have to move over and get in the lane? Well, we have a V8, and if I step on it, it drops in gear and it really picks up fast. This door comes sliding out. Now I've had like little hooks that you can push down or open it, and I've tried 2 or 3 different things, and it hasn't worked. I was ready to take and drill a hole through it and put a lock on it with a latch or something, but I found something else. And what led me to do this, to go to this extent, was that one time the door slid out and ripped right off the slides, and all these little ball bearings were all over the floor, and the slide just pulled out of itself. And I said, I gotta do something else. So I built some wooden runners for it, some locking wooden runners, so it opens and closes pretty good for a big drawer. But in order to keep it closed, I did something I think is not that innovative, but boy, it works really good. And in order to show you how I lock this drawer in, I've got to get you down inside and underneath here. You can see this is the underside of the drawer, and these are the pieces of wood that the runners run on. There are 3 of them actually. And you'll notice there's a small knob here. And let me pull it out. It's pretty long to unscrew completely, and I usually don't do that. I just loosen it. Notice this little brass thing under here. And notice it has a hex on it. Let me show you what this is. You're in my workshop right now, and I'm opening up this small box. Now you can buy these things individually at the hardware store, but I use them quite a bit, so I like to have a set. And they're cheaper by the dozen, so to speak. This is a small brass thing. It looks like a threaded brass ferrule. On the end, there's a hex, and on the inside, there are also threads. So we're back underneath the drawer again, and I thread this in, and in the drawer, there's just a hole drilled up through it. So if I thread this in nice and snugly, it won't come out from vibration at all and then turn, and the drawer is locked. It can't open. When I want to open the drawer, I just reach underneath without having to be on my back like I am now, unscrew it several times so it's just still in there but halfway out, and the drawer opens. Before I leave, and I have to remember to do this, I screw it back in and we're good to go. A word about this knob. It's made by taking a 2-liter bottle cap, putting a bolt on the inside of it, and filling it with hot glue. Voila, instant knob. You know how much trailers can bounce. It's a surprising amount. And if you have one of these, you know that inside the Lazy Susan is just a glass tray sitting on this rotating ring, and it bounces around. It's a good thing it's contained, because I think it would just shatter. But here's a way to stop it from bouncing. A pool noodle with a piece cut off. On mine, the ceiling is higher than the edge. Take the whole thing, put it on the tray, put it inside, and then just wedge it into place so it's vertical. It is not going to come off. It doesn't matter. I've bounced so that everything in the trailer was just all over the place. You know, once in a while you'll hit one of those potholes or those bumps or go on those washboard roads. This will not move. I've shown the assembly of this in another video, but this is our first time using this setup, and it was great. It's right facing the bed. This is my fan. This is Joyce, because she sleeps on this side. We turn them on us, and we can put these, you know, anywhere from from low, medium, or high. If we put them on low, which provides a lot of air, it'll go 24 hours. On high, it'll go 6 hours, which if you want it on high, it'll pretty much last a night's sleep. They are charging now. It's 100% charged. And what I did was, because I had them mounted different places, and it just wasn't working out. So what I did was I had this piece of brass metal that I mounted underneath this cabinet. There's one side for this fan, there's one side for this fan. These fans have this magnificent clip that is extremely strong. It's almost hard to open. And I slip it all the way over this piece of metal, and they become our fans. Now, I'm a real fan of these fans because they work so well, and they're quiet, and they're rechargeable, and they have 3 speeds along with one that just makes the thing go up and down randomly. They've just been great. And we don't have air conditioning in here. We do have a max fan in the ceiling, but these things really, when you're sleeping, provide enough air that even on a warm night, you're covering up with a sheet, just because they're kind of cool, even if they're not on high. But anyway, we have this setup now. I know now that it works, unlike some of the other ways I had it clipped around the camper. And this is the permanent setup. I'm about to take this bed apart to bring all the sheets in and pillowcases and so forth to wash them for the next trip. We use them the entire trip we were on without washing them, but they were in pretty good shape. But we need to wash them now. But I want to show you a little something that has to do with the fitted sheet. And let me explain. If you've ever had to make a fitted sheet in a camper that the corners keep coming off, particularly on the far end where you have to crawl over the bed and pull the corner of the bed and try to get it over, and sometimes you're laying on the sheet or your knees are on the sheet so you can't pull it far enough. It's just the worst. And ours would come off frequently because we have an 8-inch mattress, so that the fitted sheets are a little looser because they're made for a thicker mattress usually when you buy them. And I had to cut 4 inches off this mattress to get it fit across, and my wife and I aren't that tall, so it's not a problem. But now you have a sheet that's too big for the mattress, so there's a lot of give on the end. So when you're sleeping on it, the corners will pull off. Now, I know that they sell these suspenders to put underneath that clip onto it and everything, but those are not easy to put on either. And I've had some, and after a while they unclip. Maybe I had some lousy ones, I don't know, but I really get fed up with them. And I get fed up with always crawling over trying to put the sheets on, because Joyce just won't do it anymore. She just hates it, so I do it. But I found a solution, and now the corners never ever come off until I decide to take them off. Let me show you what I did. It's different, and it's weird, and you might go, huh? But it works. I'm over here on the far corner of the bed, and this sheet is actually bound up because it's wanted to pull off, but it can't come off. And this is how I did it. I hold this up here and take this out. Let me show you what this is. This is a miraculous device. It's a nail with a washer on it. This being a foam mattress, put the sheet over, and then right in the corner, I push this through the sheet into the foam. And it goes in pretty hard. You have to actually sometimes take your palm to push it in. But once it breaks the foam, it slips in. And it pulls out hard too, so it's not going to come out on the road ever. And when you pull it out, if you were to look at the foam mattress, you cannot find a hole. It just sort of squeezes it on itself. It never destroys the mattress or anything. I don't know if this would work on a regular spring mattress, but if it goes through the cloth, I can't imagine why it wouldn't. but the two far corners of my mattress never, ever come out, even on a month-long trip. But once I put them in, it's permanent. These corners on this end, they don't come off much, but if they do, well, they're easy to put on because they're right here, you know, on this side of the bed. But weird, strange solution, it works. Now, our entire camper is pretty much 12 volts. When I'm plugged in, the microwave, a plug right there works. Like you've seen us use the coffee pot. The electric heater works. And of course the battery charge, to keep the battery charged, our lithium batteries. But we work on 12 volts. The TV's 12 volts, the sound system, these fans, everything is 12 volts. So that if we can't plug in, well, the microwave doesn't work, we don't have a plug over there, but the lights, TV, everything else runs off the battery. We don't use inverters or converters to go, you know, from 12 to 110 or vice versa, except in one instance. And I have this only for one appliance, but if you have a small camper that's 12 volts, but you need a little bit of 110 sometimes, maybe for charging something, like in my case, I have an older Apple laptop that I do not have and can't find a 12 volt charger for, a charging cable for. So I have to use the 110 brick that comes with it and plug it in someplace. So if you have minimal needs, this is a great way of doing it, if you didn't know it already, because I'm sure you did. Now, some larger and some small campers too will have inverters, and often they have fairly large ones because they want to run their microwaves and everything. But what I've found in another small camper that I had, that an inverter seems to drain a battery almost as much as what you've got connected to it. They take power. So we avoid the 12, 15, 1800 watt inverters or greater that you see in many campers, and most large campers come with them. Instead, we just have a small one. It's 400 watts. It is a pure sine wave inverter, and it has a few other features which are also very helpful, like this. This is a Bestex inverter. You know, there are lots of different brands and sizes. It's about the size of a small paperback book, maybe 2 decks of cards. And I have it plugged in to 12 volts here because I did not hardwire this when I first built the camper. So I have something like this here, and it comes with that plug to plug it in. And on it, it has a switch to turn it on and off. Let's turn it on here. Little pilot light. It's got 4 USB ports that are 1 amp at the bottom and 2.1 amp at the top. So sort of like for a smaller device or an iPad or so forth. And it's got 3 110 volt plugs on the side. This unit is 400 watts. My laptop charging takes about 75. 400 watts is actually quite a bit for some stuff, but it's for small things. Being sine wave and pure sine wave, it's very safe for electronics, as many of you probably know. So you always want to look for a pure sine wave inverter. Also, this one, if you can hear it, has a fan in it, because these can generate a little heat, which is the reason that they actually end up taking some electricity themselves, which robs your battery of electricity while you're using it. So I leave it off. I only use it when I need to charge my laptop. Occasionally someone will come with an air mattress or something with an electric connection to it that they need to charge, to use to blow it up, and I'll connect it with that. I usually leave it turned off when we're traveling. Now, if we do need 110 on the road and we have no place to plug in, which, you know, mostly the state parks will have a lot of sites that plug in. But if we're boondocking, our battery will go 5 to 7 days, particularly using some of the devices we have. And we never usually boondock longer than that, but I do have a 2,000 watt Champion generator that's, you know, about the size of a small suitcase, and it works really good. I can plug in here and it'll run anything we've got in here, you know, pretty much all at once. So particularly handy if you want to charge the battery if you've gone too long, or if you hit some really cold weather, it'll run a 1,000 watt electric heater that I have here, and that'll just, you know, cook you out of this place. But most of the time, we just don't need 110 volts. It's convenient, but that's it. And that's part of the minimalist camping philosophy that we have. And last but not least, we replaced our little Shark audio device with an Anchor speaker, Bluetooth, connects hardwired to the TV, runs music for the phone. I have some of their vacuum cleaners, which are under the name of Eufy, and I've got you know, various little dongles and things that I use for my computer, and very high quality stuff at a reasonable price compared to some other things. So highly recommended if you're looking for a little speaker, something like this. Well, thanks for watching. Right now, I've got to get back to doing what I actually came out here to do, which was to straighten things out and do some cleaning out here, getting ready for the Reggae Festival next week. We'll try to get some video and post it so you can see what it was like. Thomas Point Beach is a beautiful place, and they do a good job with all of their music festivals. I mean, you can bring your little kids there and have a good time for any of them. So, till later.